Welcome to our Devos. We are talking about avoiding compromise, not compromising. As we talked about over the weekend, compromising, you could come back from compromising, and we see that Samson did several times. However, what if we just decide we don't want to compromise, that we want to stay true to what God wants, and we stay on the straight and narrow? Well, something to consider that will keep you from compromising is that God's standard doesn't move with the culture. The culture, or the world systems, is always going to want to entice us to compromise more. And if you look at the character of God, who he is, his unchanging nature, he doesn't change. He doesn't move. And his standard is holiness. His litmus and his level is perfection. And so when the opportunity comes up to compromise and to become more like the world or to become more like somebody else who is compromising, we are in fact not acknowledging that God is not changing. There's no shadow of turning within him. It says in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So compromise is when we take what our standard is and we modify it to accommodate something else. A lot of times it's a person. Like we're with somebody, like, well, my wife doesn't pray, so I quit praying. Well, my wife's not really a church person, so I don't go to church. Well, my kids, they got involved in sports, and that's really taken up a lot more of their time than like their Bible study and them coming to our youth programs. And so we just kind of modified based on them. So when we do that, what we're doing is we're silently rebelling against God's unchanging character. That doesn't mean that we don't change what we do. That doesn't mean that we have to do always the same things we've always done. But when we're changing, it should be so that we become holier and better, and not so that we become more compromised. Because if we become more compromised, what we're doing is we are saying that, well, God moves, and so I can move. It doesn't work like that. God's standard is always the same. So when we attempt to rationalize bad behavior, or when we attempt to do less than what we used to do, we're actually compromising. So I want to encourage you, if you're tempted to compromise, if you're tempted to do something you know that's a violation of who you know that you are, my encouragement is that you keep in mind the character of God. Understand who he is, know who he is, and know that you want to anchor yourself to him and not to something that changes.